Hi, I'm Barbara, and I'm delighted to share my Gupta Program success story with you. I hope my recovery gives you the inspiration and faith that you can overcome your condition with the help of the Gupta Program, just like I did, and so many others. My condition started in 2006 when I started having chronic daily headaches and migraines. I was treated by several traditional doctors over the next 2 years, but nothing seemed to relieve my pain. I had 3 children at home back then, and I'm sad to say that I spent a lot of time in bed, feeling guilty about not being a better mother. I was desperate to get better. In 2007, I was referred to a functional doctor who tested me for Lyme disease. That's when I began a long journey of working with 7 different Lyme literate medical doctors over the next 7 years. After a year of not getting better, I would try someone else. I took a lot of antibiotics, many herbal therapies, and tons of supplements. Over time, my symptoms expanded and included insomnia, brain fog, joint and tendon pain. In 2012, I reluctantly decided to try IV antibiotic therapy because I was still testing positive for Lyme. So for 10 months, I self-administered 3 different, very strong antibiotics every day via a permanent port that was placed in my arm. This treatment did resolve many of my physical symptoms, but not the neurological symptoms. So I explored a lot of different alternative practitioners and nutritional therapies. And I was subsequently diagnosed with co-infections of Lyme, Candida, SIBO, adrenal fatigue, leaky gut, food intolerance, and more. And then around 2014, many practitioners started suggesting that I might have mold toxicity. This began another journey of discovering toxic mold in my house, mold remediation, and treatment for mold colonization. Unfortunately, none of these changes or treatments made me feel any better. In fact, I found that I was becoming more and more sensitive to everything, and I was starting to feel hopeless. In 2019, one practitioner suggested that I might have MCAS, so I started getting tested, taking more supplements, and further restricting my diet. At this point, I was limited to around 10 foods that I felt were safe for me to eat. In 2020, I came across a video where an MCAS specialist interviewed Ashok. I felt like he was speaking directly to me. Everything he said resonated with my experience, the lifelong level of chronic stress, the emotional crisis before the trigger, and finally the triggers, Lyme and mold. So I started the Gupta program right away. I love the holistic and spiritual nature of the program. I experienced some immediate improvement, followed by many long dips. I learned to float through the dips and started identifying some of my core fears. I stopped catastrophizing about the symptoms. I realized that my fear and anxiety about the symptoms and the condition had created a loop in my brain, and they made my symptoms worse. Gradually, I was able to visualize feeling better. I worked with a coach to help me resolve the core fears and resistance to healing that came up. I learned to soften my inner critic and love myself and others unconditionally. After a decade of hopelessness and fear, I started to feel hopeful that maybe I could completely recover. And then I did. Based on lab tests, I know that I did actually have Lyme disease and mold toxicity. But now I know that what prevented me from recovering from those conditions was a hypervigilant nervous and immune system. I really wish I had known about the Gupta program earlier in my recovery because I feel so good now on so many levels. For me, the program was a transformational journey through fear and pain to peace and love. I really hope this story touches some of you and gives you the faith and motivation to stick with it, even through dips and resistance, so that you can find your way to whatever blessings wait for you down the right-hand path.